Welcome to my presentation, everyone. My name is Hong Lin. Today's presentation is about using videos for teaching purposes. I'm not going to talk about those technical things. So I'm not going to teach you how to make videos, how to edit videos. Instead, I'm going to talk about how to use videos for different purposes. For example, using videos to engage students, using videos to do assessment. So it's more pedagogically oriented. So let's take a look at the agenda today. Well, first of all, I would like to give you one framework. The framework is about the best practices for teaching and learning. Using that framework, we're going to talk about how we can fit video uses into that framework, right? Because many times, I think, well, we can have a strategy here, a strategy over there, but they're all scattered. I'm the person who always want to teach our students to look at the forest and then look at how trees fit in the forest. All right, the second thing I would like to share with you is about when we have videos, it's not just the standalone videos. How do videos fit in your lesson structure? All right, so let's take a look at that. And then number 3 is very important. I'm going to introduce to you the internal and external resources. So internal resources at OU and some external resources. For example, let me give you a hook. I've got this question a lot. For example, there's a very good video in YouTube, but think about all the ads and distractions on the side. You just don't want to share that URL to your students anymore because of some inappropriate material on the site. But I'm going to teach you that one thing that you can just block all the distractions and just have only one video you can use for your teaching and learning purposes. So that's one of the hooks. And again, Q&A are welcome. Please feel free to chime in. So this is the framework. Well, best practices for teaching and levels of interaction. Imagine face-to-face environments, online environments, blended environments. Okay, when we talk about those learning environments, many times we think about those best practices, how can we engage students? And actually, according to literature, this is a very well-established framework. It says, no matter what learning environment is, you should engage students in multiple levels. The first one is a student versus content interaction, right? Okay. I know some of you are teaching online. Some of you are teaching face-to-face. Think about this. We provide knowledge. We provide content. So students have an opportunity to interact with content. That's very evident, all right? And then go to the next level is the student versus instructor interaction. And at this level, I'm not talking about responding an email. I'm more talking about providing effective, constructive feedback. For example, this is the gap. This is the modest point that I think you need to put more effort, right? And this is the area that I think you struggle, and let me help you. And this is for example, the area that I would like you to work with your peers more. So I'm talking about that kind of student versus instructor interaction, all right? And then it goes to the next level, which is the student versus student or students. The peers level. At this level, it's the most difficult, it's the most challenging level because it probably will ask you for projects, student projects or field trips or research collaboration. So it's not only by yourself, it's more with 1 to 2 or 1 to many. So this is the most challenging phase, not just for students, but also for instructors, all right? And then the next level is student versus himself or herself. That is the level about self-reflection, right? You need to provide opportunities for students to really digest what they have been given, internalize what they have been taught. So that's the internal reflection process. So according to literature, if you want to evaluate, a course any instruction, no matter what, in what format, usually that's the levels that you can go to. Unfortunately, many instructors usually stay only on the first and the second level. We're all good, including myself, we're all good at providing content to students and maybe facilitate a little bit, like what do you understand, what you don't understand, right? We're good at that. And sometimes students, interact with us, we answer questions. But many times we ignore the last two levels of interaction. Keep this framework in mind as we move along for the presentation. Well, and also when we talk about using videos for teaching and learning purposes, think about if you teach face-to-face and if you teach online, do you use videos the same way or differently? All right, sometimes it can be the same, sometimes it can be different. All right, videos for instructional purposes. There are two types of videos. The first type is faculty-driven videos. So faculty either find videos or create videos. So that is faculty-driven videos. And the second type of videos is student-generated videos. Students made their own videos. So I'm going to talk about faculty-driven videos first. If you look at the first one, it's deliver content. Okay, use videos to deliver content. We're all familiar with the first one. But how about the rest? Use videos to gain attention, to set the stage of an activity, to use videos for assessing learning, and to use videos to provide feedback. I'm giving you these options, but I would like to hear some real examples from you. If you have used videos before, can you give me one example, for example, how to use videos to gain students' attention? Anyone?
You can do a welcome video to introduce yourself to the student, but also to kind of get them engaged and enthusiastic for what they're about to learn.
Okay, so like a course introduction, yeah. Okay, to introduce the course, to gain their attention about this course, all right, so that they know what is expected. Wonderful, thank you very much. Anyone?
To demonstrate metaphor, something that they can currently relate to relate the content to the video with the course.
Okay, that's another good example. All right, thanks. Anything else?
I taught a lesson about social psychology and concepts of beauty, and we started out with a satirical video on Photoshop. And so it kind of set the stage for what we were about to do, the content.
Oh, okay, okay. So these kind of examples is like setting up a hook, right? Or it's not just the introduction of a topic, but just setting up a hook so that students would like to know more, get to know more, and then want to do more. So that's the purpose, using videos to gain attention. How about using videos to set the stage for an activity? What does it mean to set the stage for an activity?
Prime the specific content that you want to cover.
So setting the stage as in trying to relate, early on relating the content that you're going to cover in a video to set the stage for their understanding later.
Okay, that's a good one. Set the stage prior to a real activity. So the videos that we're going to watch, some of them are OU made, here, and some of them are external. So let's take a look at this one. Think about whether this is a video to set the stage for an activity.
So as we consider a real question, a real case study, like how do we distribute goods in this situation, whether we are deciding to pay or not to pay college athletes for their services, it raises a series of questions. It's a complex moral problem. And we want to develop our ability to break it down and to try and decide what principles are at stake and why. And as we do, we'll see emerge certain patterns of moral reasoning, certain types of reasoning about justice, certain principles of justice that will recur over and over throughout the course in different contexts, in different societies. We'll see principles like the principle of voluntary market exchange. In this case, you might say college athletes should be allowed to be paid for their services. They should be allowed to negotiate and to sell their labor, just like any other worker. You'll see arguments about about the greater good, about utilitarianism. Maybe our system would be greater if we did pay them. We would have people try harder. We would have a better athletic system. We would get more pleasure as a society out of our athletic system if we would properly pay the people who are providing the services. On the other hand, you'll hear arguments about amateurism, that there's something pure about connecting the pride and loyalty that we feel as a community towards our athletic teams, especially ones that are noble and worthy, like the University of Oklahoma Sooner football team. And to keep that somehow pure of the commercialism is essential to what amateurism is. And so you might say, in fact, that the services they provide are not labor, that they are somehow fundamentally different from the kinds of goods that are exchanged in a market.
I would like you to spend a couple of minutes to, let's imagine if you use this video in the classroom, traditional classrooms, or if you want to use this video for the online environment, how will you use it differently? Obviously, this video set the stage, as I said, okay? Here's the conditions, here are the questions, here are the arguments that you will hear. What would you do? Yeah, what would you do? Students, what would you do? What's your judgment? Okay, the same video, if you use the same video in the classroom setting or in the online environment, how will you use it differently or the same? I would like you to spend a couple of minutes to discuss this. The instructor sets the stage for a debate. How are you going to use it in the classroom? Because I just got a very good question. Well, if you are in the classroom already, why do you need a video when you are in the classroom, right? You're physically there. Why do you still need a video there? So that's the question. Any thoughts?
I'm a biologist. I teach a course on survey of invertebrates, worms and bugs and things like that. And I can show them videos of, scientists working on coral reefs and all these things that we can't see. I mean, lab used to be preserved, looking at preserved things, and now we can see all these little video clips. So we'd see 6 or 8 videos each lecture.
Okay, there are some like pictures, images, or 3Ds that instructors can't describe or can't, just present there visually. So that helps. Okay, look at this video. No visual images at all. It's just a talking instructor. So does it help?
Well, it can. I mean, it's just like a long time ago when we used vignettes and things like that to introduce concepts for discussion. You can use something like that to introduce a debate. Me personally, I think you oversold it a little because you've reduced what students can talk about by giving them all the sides of the conversation. But, in terms of just being able to introduce, we're going to have this debate, this is what it's about, this is what these are the parameters for the conversation. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You could do it face-to-face, but...
Yeah, okay. Any thoughts from this part of the room?
I think the video is essentially just a talking head, and I think the professor, I don't think it's any different necessarily what those two things were offering. I think maybe if the video was showing students who were actually having a debate, maybe that would have been better, but...
Okay. All right, so the answer is no. If I were physically in the classroom, I wouldn't make a video like this. I know some of you are teaching online, so that's a different environment. So how do you use videos?
The way I use videos, I might have someone introduce like an opposite side of something than we've been covered in the textbook or in the resources I was providing, and then ask within maybe the discussion or something to have the students discuss the pros and cons of doing it, the way that it was presented on a video.
So thank you for your input. Here's my take. I think the video is very useful, although you all say no. I know. Okay, but here's my take. Think about the framework that I told you just now. Student interaction at different levels, all right? Okay, that is regardless in what kind of environment, online or face-to-face. Well, for this video in particular, I like it because it set the stage. Yeah, you can say the same thing again and again, but think about, maybe sometimes you cannot even cover all the questions you would like to ask, and actually under that video it has some specific questions. We didn't watch all of them, and that's one reason. So it provides it diversifies a little bit, the way that you teach in the class all the time. For example, this instructor has, let's say, 30 debates. He has to set up the stage every time, every year when the course is delivered. So diversity of teaching, even the same thing, that's something important to me. And second, think about the interaction with students, not just inside the classroom. Think about the extension of the classroom, right? This is online, the stage is there, the questions are there. After the class, let's say students can only have 15 minutes to debate, but after the class, the debate continues. That's another venue for students. Hey, we have our online format. Please continue to go there and debate. And as we all know, some students do much better when they have time to think, process, digest, and write their thoughts down. So I think that's an extension of student engagement, at the student versus instructor, student versus student interaction.
Well, something else, class time is very precious. And if it takes you 40 minutes to set up a debate and you have 10 minutes to debate, you might be able to shift that over to like you would reading. And then have the full class time for interaction, questions, and debate.
Okay. Some faculty members use the videos for flip. Well, I think we're hearing about the term flipped classroom a lot. So this video can also, used to flip the class. Students, please view this video before you come to the class because I have set the stage, I have asked the questions, and now once you come in, I don't even need to spend 10 minutes for that. It seems that we don't like talking heads, that's for sure. So when we talk about videos, I'm not talking about video lectures. Well, it's worthwhile mentioning that. I'm not talking about video lectures, I'm talking about video clips. So like the video we saw is just 1.5 minutes to set the stage. So thank you all for your inputs. I would like to move to the next one, which is to use videos to assess learning. How can we use videos to assess student learning? Can anyone give me one example? As I said, it's so obvious to deliver content.
I teach a Plagues and People class, and I show them a film on Ebola epidemic, and it's a lot of people on the grounds in Zaire dealing with an ongoing epidemic. And I have them take notes about how an anthropologist would view this epidemic, and they're supposed to base this on some articles they've read about anthropology and epidemics.
Okay.
And so I can sort of assess whether they've understood that by their response to this video.
That's a good way. That's a good way to use videos to check whether students understand specific things. So that's like the activities, to go with the videos. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Last year I worked with a faculty member who was designing a open course at OU. So she was looking at all kinds of found videos, from YouTube and from other venues. She found a few, and then she said, I really like this one because it covers 1, 2, 3, 4 things. But there are 2 things that I don't think they make them right. So 2 facts were wrong, actually, or were outdated. Can we make a new video? Well, given the time constraint, given the resources, just think about how much time, for example, CT and Next Thought and OU can commit to create new videos, right? So I asked her, let's think about this, flip the idea. How about you use this video as assessment video, right? You design an activity. For example, ask students to rate this chapter, use this framework to critique this video and find out that 2 false statements, right? So in that way, you don't need to create a new video at all. And by using the existing videos, you not only save your time and production time, university resources, you also use videos not just to deliver content, but use videos a little bit creatively. So the instructor liked the idea, so she designed activity, just like that. Just flip the use of the videos. Well, let me show you one example, a typical example, example 2. Look at the title of the video. It's like top 5 tips for graduate engineers, right? We have this kind of videos all the time in YouTube. It's like the summary of something. Many times, they are not absolutely right. And this is the good opportunity that you ask students to critique it, to find something, or to add to, the existing videos, right? So that it can save lots of time and resources. The way I would like to focus is to suggest that we diversify, when we design an activity, when we use a video, think about those activities, that come with this video. All right. And back to the question that I asked you, if you use the same video for online or for face-to-face, are they the same? Are they different? Yeah, so think about this. I would suggest that the video, the content may be the same, but actually the way we use it can be very different. Yeah. All right, let's move to student-generated videos. Student-generated videos, some instructors use it. I found that many instructors don't want to use it, not because of the benefits, not because they don't know it will be beneficial to students, but it's more about logistics. Where can I find a place for students to upload their videos? In YouTube, that's probably is a little bit messy, right? Whether students understand how to use, video tools to make videos. Yeah, so that kind of logistics. If you look at the first one, student-generated videos, for example, digital storytelling. That was a very popular strategy a few years ago. You ask students to provide either audio or video way to show whether they understand a concept, or you record, their field trip and ask them to write a summary or a research report or language project. That's more evident, right? You ask students to, for example, imitate a correct pronunciation, and then they repeat it, and then they upload it somewhere and compare. Yeah. So another way to use video for students, they can also role play what they have learned. Yeah, and then just demonstrate it. Yeah, if you're in the theater major, probably that's more obvious when you ask students to do something and then record it. My under was teacher education. I remember those days that we were heavily videotaped. We all thought we did well until we saw the video. Yes, until we saw the video. All the mistakes were magnified again and again. So we were corrected that way. So that's for the teaching and learning purposes. Yeah. So I'm not going to watch my video after I go back. Yeah. Anyway, another way for students to use videos is to construct meaning with peers. I would like you to give me some input on this one. For example, I give you examples here. You can ask students to generate videos so that they can share multiple perspectives. They can use their video discussions in discussion board, or they can debate. Have you tried anything like that before?
I teach African American Studies, and I taught a class African American education. And I had the students do digital projects where they could produce videos over an educational issue. Mm-hmm. And then they posted all those by a certain deadline, and afterwards the entire class would critique the submissions. They didn't only have to do videos, but a number of them did. The one thing that the students commented most about is how much they had to think about what they were saying and how much they had to think about the process of making the video. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something they could just sit down and knock out. They had to stop, restart, edit. It was a lot of work. And then two, critiquing one another made them a lot more, I won't say lenient, but understanding of the effort that went into the projects. And so the kind of comments they made, they were critical and mostly focused on content issues. You
gave us a very good example that student-generated videos does not necessarily mean easier to do it. For example, if we just record a performance, that's easier, right? Because it's just there. But the example that you gave us involves student planning of everything, understanding everything, generating everything before they come up, It's like a research project. You start from, everything, right? And then you narrow it down to one specific point. Yeah, so that's a good example. I would like to show you another student-generated example.
So Jackie, there are many great narrative resources here at the Western History Collections, but I was wondering if I could actually look at some pictures that might help me understand what was going on in Oklahoma about this time.
Oh, sure, yeah. Photographs provide a really great visual record. It's really good to read about something, but sometimes looking at that picture really kind of makes it come to life.
Okay.
We're going to be at digital.libraries.ou.edu again, and go into Western History Collections. And this time, we're going to go down to the photographic archives.
Great.
We're going to go into the gallery link. And just know that this is just a gallery. They're thumbnail images, and so they can't be blown up or downloaded or anything. It is just kind of a thumbnail browsing type of situation.
Okay.
Our gallery defaults to an alphabetical sort by
So
collection.
what you can see, a student is interviewing a librarian, right? On the surface, it's about how to use library resources. But before this student could do anything like that, just as like what you said, she needed to plan something. Maybe, she needed to submit an outline of the interview to the instructor. She needed to read, she needed to do her research about specific guidelines that she would like to learn from the library. So it's not a standalone video. So lots of planning for, for the sake of the instructors. Overall, whether it's faculty-driven videos or student-generated videos, three phases needs to mentioned. The first one is, as instructors, you need to think about, before viewing the videos, what kind of things you would like the students to prepare. It's not just a standalone video. Ask them whether you would like to introduce the background, you would like them to do something. And during the viewing, literature suggested that if you have a relatively longer video, for example, 10 minutes, if technically, if possible, it should be a break somewhere. I'm not talking about two parts. I'm talking about, for example, in the middle of the video, you could ask some questions. You could have some cutaway images so that students, the memory won't just go linear. You have some, stimulus for students to keep engaging watching. So that's what the viewing during a relatively long video about. And the last thing is post-viewing. That is the activities that we talk about. Okay, don't just ask students to watch a video and maybe ask a few questions. Ask them whether they can come up with either a report or critique, things like that. Resources. Okay, this is the favorite part. So external resources, the most common one we all know is YouTube. But I would like to introduce QuietTube. So when you Google and type in QuietTube, you will see this page. Drag and drop QuietTube, and then you go to a YouTube video, anyone. And then every time you show this video, all the distractions on the side, they all disappear. It's only one video that you would like to show to students. And then internal resources here. The library is doing a video trial. It's called Film on Demand. And OU just bought My Media, Cultura, and OU rebranded it. It's My Media. That's the video space that you can upload all the videos. Your students can upload all the videos without, going through this in YouTube. So that's a very useful place to go. And CTE, Center for Teaching Excellence, provides video training. This semester, we're going to hold your hands from planning, production, editing, all doable. It's not the very advanced, technology training, but those that will ensure a certain type of quality for faculty members as well. That's it for today, and thank you very much. I hope you can take away one thing from this presentation. Again, thanks for your time, everyone.